Good afternoon. My name is Bill Limpert, and I'm here to talk about safety issues with the MVP. I'm not formally trained nor educated in pipe safety, but I've done a lot of research and I've talked to a lot of experts, and I'm knowledgeable. I believe that the MVP as currently constructed is a significant threat to the public safety. It could well be the most prone to explode natural gas transmission pipeline in our country. And if it explodes, it could well be the biggest pipeline explosion our country has ever experienced. Experts share my concerns. This threat is made worse by MVP's reckless and irresponsible project management and the failure of PHMSA and FERC to adequately protect the public safety. Tens of thousands of our fellow citizens on and near this 303-mile pipeline are at risk. The MVP must not be put into operation without extensive safety upgrades. I'm concerned about the safety of the MVP for the following reasons. The potential for a catastrophic explosion as a result of corrosion of the pipe from coating deficiencies and questionable cathodic protection, landslides, MVP history of violations, weak regulations and enforcement, failure of government agencies to keep the public informed. The MVP is designed to transport 2 billion cubic feet of gas, natural gas per day, with 1,480 pounds of pressure per square inch on pipeline walls that are less than 5/8 inches thick.
Closer, Leanne. Get it closer. Okay.
The impact radius, or probably better known as the blast zone, in an explosion for the MVP is a circle 2,230 feet in diameter. That's more than 7 football fields in diameter. This is the area where death or severe injury is likely. The evacuation zone is 1.4 miles in diameter. This is the area where families have to evacuate their homes and get out of the evacuation zone within minutes to avoid possible death or serious injury. This leaves lots of people in harm's way. The MVP is coated with a fusion bonded epoxy, or FBE. This material is designed to prevent corrosion of the pipe, and corrosion is the second leading cause of pipe failure. Sunlight, heat, humidity, and moisture degrade the coating, causing it to chalk off the pipe. The coating that remains on the pipe loses its ability to prevent corrosion. The MVP pipes have been left out in the sun without protection far beyond industry standards. This leaves the integrity of the pipe and the coating highly questionable. As Bert said earlier, the National Association of Pipeline Coating Applicators advises that pipe coated with FBE should not be left in the sun for more than 6 months. A large number of MVP pipe, as many as 6,000 pipe segment covering 45 miles, has been exposed to the sun for over 6 years. All 40,000 segments of pipe for the MVP have been left in the sun for more than a year. Cathodic protection is another corrosion prevention technique. It's designed to protect the pipe from corrosion when it's in the ground, and it works in conjunction with the coating. Reports from MVP indicate that a large majority of pipe was left in the ground without cathodic protection for 2 years. The extent of cathodic protection has been applied to the pipes at this time is unclear, because we're not getting information from PHMSA about that, and that pipe might still not be protected. FERC approved the MVP route through the steep Appalachian Mountains. The route traverses 203 miles with a history of landslides and the likelihood of further landslides. This is according to U.S. Geological Survey. The MVP also passes through the Giles County seismic zone, which registers about 1 earthquake per year. As a matter of fact, an earthquake struck within 2,000 feet of the MVP right-of-way on June 16th of this year. Earthquakes can cause landslides. The MVP FERC-approved landslide management plan has been ineffective in preventing landslides. In fact, FERC has issued 150 variances to allow MVP to go beyond the right-of-way, in almost all cases onto private property, in attempts to stop the landslides. One landslide forced 2 families to evacuate their homes. Another broke the pipe in 3 places. Pipe's not carrying gas yet, thank heavens. Landslide-induced pipeline explosions are not uncommon. In the past 5 years, 2 large pipelines near the MVP have exploded as a result of landslide, and Maury referred to one. Landslides are continuing. An MVP pipeline explosion would dwarf the 2 that have already occurred. MVP has a history of violations. Okay.
You're good, Bill. Yeah, keep going, woo!
The MVP and its primary owner, Equitrans Midstream, have a long history of violations. In fact, the MVP has already paid $2.5 million to the states of Virginia and West Virginia for numerous water quality violations. In fact, the Fourth Circuit Court earlier this year vacated West Virginia's water quality certification for the MVP, stating that the issuance of the certificate did not, quote, sufficiently address MVP's violation history, unquote. Early on in the project, PHMSA found that MVP had violated safety regulations by placing the pipe in a rock-lined ditch where large pipes could fall against the pipe and damage the coating and damage the pipe. And that's a big violation. PHMSA did not issue a fine for that violation. In November of last year, Equitrans had a massive blowout at its Ranger Mountain gas storage facility in Pennsylvania. This leak discharged 1.29 billion cubic feet of natural gas and continued for 11 days before it could be plugged. This was one of the largest natural gas discharges in our nation's history. A follow-up investigation found that 8 of the other 9 Equitrans wells at the site were also leaking. Equitrans has also paid a number of fines in recent years for violations on other projects. Equitrans, I just found this out about a month ago. Equitrans has its own notice of violation tracker, and it shows from 2019 through 2022, that's 4 full years, Equitrans was served with 186 formal notices of violation. That's almost 1 per week. If you or I had that many violations, I think we'd be in jail, or a police officer would be taking us into tow at this time. PHMSA regulatory authority is limited. The regulations are broadly written and in many cases allow operators to choose their own way to meet the regulations. Pipe safety expert Richard Cooperich, president of Accufax Inc., has stated that the minimum federal regulations are not sufficient to protect the public safety. PHMSA inspectors notify the pipeline operations that an inspection will occur 2 to 3 weeks in advance of the inspection, and that's just absolutely crazy. This allows the operator to cover up violations before PHMSA arrives on site. Neither PHMSA nor FERC has issued any fine to MVP during the 5 years of construction, despite numerous water quality violations, highly suspect pipes, and numerous landslides. FERC and PHMSA have consistently withheld records from the public. This includes records that I've requested under the Freedom of Information Act, and it's their responsibility to comply with that act, and I don't know if they have. I'm not going to accuse them of that, but I think it's highly questionable. For instance, PHMSA has not provided me with any inspection results during the 5 years of construction that have occurred so far. And I think I filed 3 FOIA requests for that information, and I've appealed to 3 denials, and they were all turned down. FERC has provided no records of landslide discussions or meetings for a 3-year period, which included issuance of the environmental impact statement and issuance of the certificate for the MVP. So in my opinion, these are actions that must be taken prior to the MVP going into operation in order to adequately protect the public safety. The coating and pipes must be tested and, if deficient, replaced or repaired per industry standards. And I agree personally that any pipe repairs should occur in the factory under standardized conditions, rather out in the field on a 40-degree slope, and sleet is coming down, and it's the end of the workday, and it's going to be very difficult to inspect or repair a 40-foot pipe that weighs 16,000 pounds. All landslides must be stopped, and a new landslide management plan that actually works must be developed. MVP must place warning devices in landslide-prone areas. MVP must add an odorant to the gas so that residents can smell a leak. Residents within 1 mile of the pipeline must be advised if they're in the blast zone or evacuation zone, and given clear directions on what they should do in a pipeline emergency. MVP, PHMSA, and FERC must meet on site with impacted communities near the MVP to answer questions and explain how their safety will be protected. The bottom line is, I just cannot believe our government will allow this to happen. Government's #1 priority is keeping the public safe. In this case, PHMSA and FERC have allowed MVP to make the public less safe. So thank you very much. I would be happy to answer any questions or discuss these issues in detail, and believe me, the details are even more frightening than this general statement. My email address is WFLIMPERT, and my phone number is 301@gmail.com. Sorry. My phone number is 301-416-0571. Please contact me. I think we've got a lot to talk about. Thank you very much.